late afternoon live stream. I'm going to crack that one open. Bush. I don't know who keeps saying that in the background. This was on a guy I follow by the name of Aquila. Okay, and Aquila is, he knows his stuff. And, I get my stuff from all over. Some from Israeli, some from, very much Eastern focused, very much, Arabian focused. I get my stuff from all over. And, Aquila doesn't post a whole bunch, but when he does, it's usually spot on. And he put it out there that these are what he thinks it will look like for a go in the first 48 hours, essentially. I think I called this on my subscription services the first 48. It's a show on Lifetime or whatever about a detective, and they basically have 48 hours to get this thing done. And it says, what will the war with Hezbollah look like for Israel? And this is kind of his plan of what he thinks would happen in an attack scenario if they were to go, head to head. Okay? And, excuse me, I got a cough. Much better than it was yesterday. I've been still getting over it. Basically, he says there needs to be a bit of a shock and awe to start, okay? And he said there's going to be the toughest question ever asked, and its answer is even more complicated. And he's absolutely correct. I mean, I've been trying to convey this, and I don't know all this stuff automatically. It comes from a lot of reading. It comes from a lot of places I go to and people I follow and their analysis and then backing it up. Aquila's up there, and he knows, the different fighting forces definitely better than I do. I know more of the political doctrine. That's why when they're sitting there screaming there's going to be a hostage deal, I can pretty much tell you within 2 minutes it's not going to happen. Because when you look at what they're trying to broker, and it goes absolutely against what the nation state has as their doctrine. And by the way, Mr. Putin just changed his military doctrine on nuclear weapons. I haven't really read through that yet, but we can touch on it. But he says basically what is known by most people is that Hezbollah is very, very different than Hamas. Hamas is a ragtag group that would pull off one-off. They're more like the IRA, in Northern Ireland. They'd go in, they'd do something nasty, they'd lay claim to it, they'd roll out, and then a month later something else would happen. They'd do political hits, they'd do disruptive stuff, but it wasn't like they could fully take on the British government. Same thing, Hamas honestly has done a solid job of urban warfare. But, the Israelis it's a game of attrition. They're coming in and they're doing like they do. They split them in half, and then they come from, two ends. They do the pincer move, and then they try to take out their decision makers, as they like to say, and then they go in and they try to basically rattle them. And urban warfare, of course, is very intense because you never know what's around the next doorstep. America knows this from Fallujah. And so thinking of it on terms of what we know and what we have seen is not going to work. It's not the same thing. Hamas and Hezbollah are different. So what he thinks is going to happen is shock and awe. And then it's going to be very abrupt. We're not going to know. It's just you're going to be sitting there, and then all of a sudden all the prepper news channels and everybody else is going to light up. And they're going to say, it's on, it's happening, this is going. And then you'll go to your favorite channels, and you'll see all the breaking news alerts, and they'll go and they'll do their thing. But it'll be very quick. which, my blind spot is usually at night, at least it was. I'm switching things up, trying to do more live streams in the day so I can chill at home with, the fam. But, and then, of course, the crisis report is going on in the morning, and actually that's been going pretty good. Sans sickness and all that. But 3 to 4 hours of the start of this war is extremely crucial. I expect an armada of airstrikes at crucial points, even if it causes civilian casualties. So basically, and what he says too is that it's not going to just be Lebanon. So what you really need to understand is that when this does pop off, and he surmises at the end that this is basically a done deal. And if you ask people in the intelligence agencies, if you ask people in the diplomatic centers, this is coming. This is going to happen. And judging by what Aquila is saying here, this isn't going to be like you've seen. This is going to be effectively a regional war. Or very potentially, not completely, but very potentially, the start of a regional war. Now, the forward is moving, supposedly. I've seen more posts on that. Someone tried to say it was still in Virginia. Supposedly, it is now moving its way towards northern Israel. The Cypriots have had threats from Hezbollah and Lebanon because of, all of that. Basically, Hezbollah said if you are launching airstrikes or air defenses, and that's what Cyprus did in, I believe it was April, when there was the big response from Iran, and when they, air quotes, attacked Israel. I mean, which honestly for everybody was just a show of force. And really, if it was done for show on all ends. It showed that Iran was willing to strike at Israel. Israel was trying to show that their air defenses are solid and can bring anything down. Cyprus helped. They had stuff flying from their airports. Yada, yada, yada. Now, what is different is Cyprus is a NATO member. So, Israel is not. Israel is, definitely in defense pacts with us, and we, aid them, and very much a, collaborative policy between the two nations. It goes without saying. But Cyprus is a NATO member. And I saw one post today as I'm tabulating things. I do it during the day. Basically what it said was, if you strike Cyprus, it would effectively cue Article 5 of NATO, which in their charter means you attack one, you attack all. It's been that way since basically the beginning. So now, here we are, and the larger thing of what this is it could potentially become a regional war very quickly. Saudi Arabia has been much more anti-Israel since the 9th of June. Their rhetoric literally in the last 10, 11 days has done a 180. They've gone from sympathetic and open to diplomacy to basically more supportive of Gaza and what's going on there, and trying to say that what Israel is doing is war crimes and stuff like that. And they haven't outright said it, but they're basically, the tune is changing. Lebanon is, they're trying to say that basically what the act would look like is they would go and they would strike in the southern portion of Lebanon very quickly. I'm thinking about 11:30 midnight on Eastern Standard Time. You would see things happening. I mean, I'm to the point where I'm going to start looking at moon phases over the next 2 weeks, because moon phases are important to all this. You want as much darkness as possible, especially when it comes to air support. And it seems, as Aquila says here, that this will be like the 6-day war, and they will definitely be using a lot of the air support and air force to start off the initial kickoff. And if it doesn't go well, if it doesn't do and achieve all of the things that they wanted to achieve, then it could really be devastating to Israel. They'd lose a lot of clout, and then at that time, I mean, any scenario with this, could make it so other regional actors pile on. I think Akila is right, where they're not just going to go into southern Lebanon. They're going to go and they're going to do airstrikes in Iraq. They're going to do airstrikes in Syria. Iran, I don't know. Iran's a little different beast. What Jordan does, I don't know. What Egypt does, I don't know. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, we're kind of in this limbo now. Okay? And Israel is basically saying they're going to go for it. Netanyahu's come out and said, you know what, say what you want about us, just give us what we need to win to America. Hochstein went back, said, you know what, we're not going to solve this right now. It looks like the conflict is coming. Joe and his friends are, talking out of both sides. They got to worry about their voters in Dearborn, Michigan. They also have to worry about their political action funds from, their backers of a certain faith. So they're playing it on both ends. Trump, of course, is very pro-Israel, but he's not there right now. He's got a long way to go, should he? So I fear that this is going to be a regional war. I fear that other regional actors will pile on. I definitely think you'll see a response from the Houthis. They've been definitely much more visual, physical in the last 2 weeks. They've been striking a lot of ships. You can tell they're getting ready for the big show. Nasrallah has been saying a lot of, saber-rattling things, which is what he does. He's the head of Hezbollah, of course. Israel is transferring a lot of their southern forces and activating reserve forces from Gaza and Rafah, and they're swinging them up to the northern area to get ready to roll. And it's just, we're at a place where cooler heads need to prevail, but we're kind of beyond that now. And now we just wait. And what it looks like, I really don't think it's going to look like the thing in April with Iran. I think it's going to light up and it's going to become something. I think it's going to be regional. I think the Israelis are going to drop the hammer, but it's not going to be as devastating a blow as they would like. At that point, there's going to be an emboldening of the militias and the Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis and all that, and they're going to come in. There's already supposedly tens of thousands of fighters that are being transported through the desert from Afghanistan and Pakistan who want to show up, shine up their AK-47 and start to do their thing. And it's feeling very Middle East holy war right now, if I may. And Akila said that the other day. He said, this is a chance to have all three of the Abrahamic religions going to blows with each other. So take with that what you will. But I think, they say 5 weeks. That's what Hochstein said. 24th is when they supposedly gave the date for them to go up above the Litani River. So you're talking Sunday, Monday at earliest probably. But who knows? Israel might be doing whatever they can to do a sucker punch and go in there in the next 48. I don't think that'll happen because, again, what people sometimes struggle to realize, it's because we all watch movies and we think that is representative of the way things go down. Logistics. There's a lot of logistics that are involved with all this. They got to get the ADs, the air defense, the SAMs, they're digging trenches on the border with North Korea. And that's another thing that, I'm glad I thought about that. What is it going to look like across the globe with all this? Someone had a really astute comment the other day on the video about the Northern Korean soldiers accidentally, air quotes, going across the DMZ into the South. They said that's not a mistake. You don't make that kind of mistake. That's not an accident. And they're absolutely correct. That is not an accident by any stretch of the imagination. So, I think we're at a regional war. I think it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. I think it's going to not look like what people think. I think it's going to get out of hand pretty quickly. I think that we are really kind of used to the SMO in Ukraine and the Gaza and the Cold War of Asia Pacific right now. And this thing is going to be just a throwdown, centuries of hatred, full-on war. And it's going to be gruesome. And once the genie is out of the bottle, I don't see anybody shoving it back in. And then from there, I mean, at best, and this is my good scenario, you have a victor and it ends, who knows? It could be a year, it could be, you could see all kinds of stuff. You could see tactical nuclear weapons. Do you find it interesting that Russia today is changing their nuclear doctrine? Do you find it interesting that he's meeting with Kim Jong-un? Do you find it interesting that on the 9th of June, the petrodollar effectively died? Do you find it interesting that, we're just, there's so many different things that are coming through. As we used to, for those that have been around a long time, there's a term I used to call a confluence of suck. And I really do believe we are at that confluence of suck. It's just coming hot and fast. And I've never seen so many potential conflicts, so many tinder boxes right now. And I'm trying to think like the normies. I'm trying to think about all that. Jeffrey Lindquist, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. I'm trying to think like the normies that are sitting there and they're doing their TikToks and they're living their lives and they're going to work and blah, blah, blah. What is this going to look like when it really gets rolling and potentially moves at breakneck speed, which is effectively what Akil is saying for the beginning of this thing? What does it look like? What happens if there is conscription? There's already conscription going on in parts of the world. I have to tell you about Russia and North Korea and places in Africa. There's Israel too. That's basically everybody trains in the military there. But now you've got places in Eastern Europe. There's talk about it, and I'm not exactly sure who, but I know like Lithuania, Estonia, places like that are either starting to put it into effect or talking about it. Germany's talked about it. The other day, all the prepper channels were freaking out about the 18 to 26-year-olds with a selective service. I remember, I'm 50. I remember, going down to the post office, and my dad said, "Hey, you're 18. Go down to the post office, son, and you got to fill out one of those selective service cards and turn it in." My father was Air Force, so Dad said, son did. And I went down and I signed all the things and, told him all the information and turned it in. And, that was it. That was, in the early 1990s. And, didn't think anything of it. Well, now they go in, they've got all the AI and all the computers. They can go and they can find your latest address, your tax returns, all that. They'll find you. And also, they've got it now where females could potentially be called upon. Don't think for 1 second. There are female Russian forces. There are female Ukrainian forces. There are female IDF. There's definitely female, in Hamas doing it. So this isn't going to be immune to anyone. And another thing to consider, what do the markets look like? So in the next 2 to 6 weeks, I'm thinking, Something gets rolling, and what happens? Right now, every day, the Dow's hit another high, Dow hits another high, NASDAQ sets a new record. That whole thing is going to get the absolute rug just twisted from under it, and it is going to go sideways very quickly. And at that point, what do the markets look like? What happens to an already very weakened housing sector? Where I saw this one, I think it was on Instagram, my wife showed me, where it was this lady like applying for a house loan, and and it was a joke, it was a parody, but I mean, basically they were like, she's got like a jewelry shop on Etsy, and she's applying for a loan, and the rates are like 17%, and all the, it was kind of funny, and it was a cartoon and all that, but the reality is that that's the reality. Right now, people are not really making it financially, and if this regional war gets rolling, rips out corporate America, and they start to rein it in, and they say, wait a second, and when it comes to business, the first thing that goes in a recession or in a tumultuous financial situation is labor. Labor is the most expensive thing that's in a business. So they go in and they say, okay, let's get rid of the labor, and they do that, and then I just don't think people nowadays really have an understanding of, first of all, how effed up everything is, and second of all, just how gruesome this is going to be. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope people come back and they're like, oh, you typical prepper channel, you're just trying to fearmonger, blah, blah, blah. Sure. I don't remember in the last 50 years of my life the Russians changing their nuclear doctrine. I don't remember that. I don't remember full-on campaigns in Gaza. I don't remember, groups like Hezbollah threatening Cyprus and in effect threatening NATO, who is in effect saying we'll throw Article 5 at your butt and we'll really show you what a regional is. And at that point, what does China do with Taiwan? What does China do with Philippines? There's all kinds of craziness going on in the Philippines and China right now. There's literally a freaking axe and knife fight on a boat between the two countries about 24 hours ago, maybe a little bit more. I mean, you're talking old school, coming out with like meat cleavers and stuff. Axes. NVIDIA is now the most expensive company on the planet. Overtook Apple and because of chips. Chips are now in everything. Chips is AI. Chips is all the computers and everything in the quantum computing that'll, be becoming more and more robust. I mean, we are in a time when, it's in the Russian economist called it a Kondratiev wave. He actually worked for Stalin and got, pretty sure he got killed by Stalin because he didn't tell Stalin what he wanted to hear. Fourth turning, Strauss and Howe, they are the ones that have coined that. I mean, that's where we're at. We're in an 80-year, 100-year technological, computational, financial, and polarity of the world moment right now. All of this stuff is changing on a dime. And there are wars all over the place. As I explained on the crisis report the other day, in America, it really is. The USD is dying, and the BRICS are rising. And, we just are at a spot where they're trying to hold on to the hegemony, and it's going to get challenged. Partners like Saudi Arabia are not there anymore. Who knows what Egypt does? Who knows what Jordan does? So, we're just in a very precarious state. And everybody's just blissfully going along on their phones and doing all this stuff. And literally every day when I look at this, and I look for it, so you could say that. Like, well, you're just looking for it. Yeah, I look for it. It's my background and what I like to do. But, I mean, it's just coming more and more and more. The last month, I've seen more stuff. I mean, the only thing that's compared to it was what happened in October and what happened in February of 2022 into March and April. And if you stack all of those things together in the last 2 years plus, I mean, if you don't think that we are not in a global conflict right now, I don't know what to tell you. And I know a lot of you said that. I saw Craigslist much earlier say, it's here. WW to the 123. It's here. And, my thing on this channel is I'll cover it. I'll tell you what's going on. I'll try to be as plaintive as possible and give you as much of a heads up as possible. But it's here, and you better act like it. You better get your butt in gear. And, all the normies around you are going to sit there and point their fingers. They're going to say, oh, you're just acting crazy. But one day they're going to look at you and be like, holy crap, dude, you called it. And not because, I'm hoping for that or I wish that. I mean, it's the litany of things I just set out for you to sit there and think about that are all going on right now. Asia Pacific, Taiwan, China, Philippines, Russia, going to North Korea, going to Vietnam, SMO going on, Estonia saying, we're ready to send troops to Ukraine, France sending advisors, getting all the air defenses. Rafah, incursion is now transferring people up to the north because Hezbollah is about to go in and take on the northern Israeli battalions. And then, does that go to a regional thing and bring in Cyprus and NATO? I mean, this is uncharted waters. So all I can say is hold on to your butts. So I'm going to stop it right there, folks. I got to go make dinner. Thanks for all your well wishes. Thanks to Mr. Lindquist for his tip. If you want to become a member here and get posts like this from, let's see how many hours ago. That was about an hour ago, but I had another one today. I put posts on for the members. It's $2 a month. You don't have to do it. You don't got to do anything, but I would be remiss not to remind you of the ways that people do help me and give me a little something for the effort, like on Subscribestar and Locals. Join me on Twitter, on Truth, Minds, Gab, all that. I'm on all those. Love to see you there. But friends, I'd say get your butts in gear and get ready. We're looking pretty guerrilla war-like right now, okay? Let's hope it doesn't go super global conflict. God bless. PrepperNow.